Hello and welcome to the penultimate round of the Simufur Porsche Cup. Back again for running commentary. It is Zarr. Say hello.
Hello there. Hello everyone in the YouTube channel and everyone else around the world. It's great to be back. Sorry I've been away. I ended up getting COVID and it was not pleasant.
It's certainly great to have you back after a couple of weeks missed, and what a couple of weeks you have missed. We've had battles on track, we've had numerous amounts of incidents, but we're here tonight at Nurburgring in the dark as well. What a fantastic opportunity for the drivers.
Oh no, absolutely. Nurburgring has always been I think a favourite of all Porsche drivers because even with Cup cars, what I've noticed is people getting some seriously quick times. You'd expect your likes of Pingus, your Fez to be up there battling right at the very top on race one, and then of course you've got to deal with the reverse grid procedure. So race two is going to be quite interesting because a lot of people are going to try and take it easy heading into Castrol S before heading into Arena. So everyone needs to be pretty on it because the track here is quite narrow.
It is indeed quite narrow, especially that turn one into sector one. That first corner is going to be crucial for some of the drivers, especially in race one. It will be the chance to really gain the lead, and in race two, well, it's a chance for survival for the AM class as they all start at the front of the grid. So we look forward to seeing it happen. However, in just 5 minutes time we'll go to qualifying. We're on board currently with we're on board currently with Saber, who I believe has just called it a day, so we'll switch cars. Let's pick someone random. In fact, you know what, we'll start with our newbies. Let's start with our newbies. So the first newbie we've got, brand new this race, it is Gox, car number 7 in the Porsche 992 Cup car. Very nice green and black livery they've got there, so we hope they do okay. Snooty coming in to give a bit more of a personal welcome before heading out of the pits there. That's always good to see our drivers being good sports. Back for another round. Oh no, wait, no, excuse me. We've got another newbie. It's car number 36 here, not an option. So not an option in what appears to be a red and white Porsche. I mean, if we get more light on the track, we'll be able to confirm that. I think it's red. For all I know, it could be orange, but there you go. There he is, not as displayed in his window. So there he is, not in position number 21 at the moment.
He is not in P21, when as a matter of fact he is. But at the moment, yeah, getting a feel for the car, no doubt, getting a feel for what it's like as they lose it going out into the last corner. Happens to the best of us. The lack of traction control, you got to be a bit more careful on the throttle because, especially coming out of that sort of corner, it's tedious. That's the best way to describe it.
It is definitely a tedious corner. Here's the illustrious turn one. Just overcooks it there. That's a shame.
Yeah, that's right. It's all about getting a feel for the car. I know it's not an ideal situation, especially if you're new to a series and it's at night and it's at a track that can be, I think it's not tedious. You can really enjoy Nurburgring or you can really hate it, and it's like Marmite. You're either going to love it or you're not.
It definitely is. It's a track that's definitely grown on me through the times that I've been racing it. But nevertheless, there we go. That's our newbies for tonight. We've got not an option, and of course Gox, who's currently sat in the pits, probably going to go out when qualifying comes around in another 2.5 minutes. Back for another round then. We've got Electroshocks, who was brand new last week. in car number 75, and
it's always good to see new drivers getting their run-outs, getting the feel for the car, feel for the series and what it's like to be racing with us at Simufur. It's obviously going to be a challenge for AM-class drivers, especially with a car that either you get good or go home, as a lot of the pro sim racers would tell you about the second-gen Cup car. I personally, I don't mind it, but you need to be on it almost 99% of the time with it, because it will inadvertently kill you if you're not careful.
Can definitely agree with you. I've not done a decent amount of time in these cars. I've gone out and done a couple of laps on a track that I'm comfortable with, so Silverstone, and I'll be quite honest with you, I didn't make it out the pit lane before completely doing a 180, so credit to these drivers for just keeping it on the track. We see shops there go through turn 1, and as you say, keeping very good control of the car so far, so hopefully they have a much better round tonight. They had a bit of a time at Brands Hatch, but needless to say, they've come back fighting.
Yep, that's good to see. I mean, of course, it is a bit of a mental strain. Like, if you feel like you're constantly making mistakes, you're constantly crashing, or you feel like you're just not good enough. I mean, we've all been there, we've all had our moments. It's just a case of just keep plugging away, keep doing what you need to do, and eventually you get better over time. It's just, it's a long procedure, that's for sure. Takes a lot of practice, a lot of patience, there's the word I was looking for, and yeah, so it's just a case of keep going at, keep plugging away. As we see, electroshocks fly over the Schumacher S's.
I believe that was an attempt to move nicely out the way to let Attic Racer through, otherwise known as Kevin. Kevin's on a lap, but now he's off a lap, so there we go. But I guess it'll be time to pull back into the pits and wait for that final 1 minute 50 seconds before we go out onto track. As we do, we'll wait and see who the first person out is, and then we'll go for an onboard lap with them. Zarr, if you'd like to lead us through that onboard lap when we start.
Yep, depending on who jumps out first, we will go from there, and we'll just we'll follow them around. And obviously there will be a case of an out lap, so either warming up the car or just getting a feel for the track. It also depends as well, because it's a Saturday qualifying on the system. We might have, you never know, over the course of the night there could be rain, so could de-rubberize the track. And we all know that these cars on a green track is a nightmare.
Certainly can be, and I tell you what, Alton Park 2 weeks ago was an absolute test of mettle for our drivers.
Yeah, I was a bit gutted to miss out on a few of the races due to COVID. Just a heads up. Please be safe out there, everyone. We're still in a pandemic. It's not pleasant.
And needless to say, I think we can all say that we're glad that you're back. However, here we go for qualifying. Then it suddenly turned to daytime.
As
I believe
I look at Pingu is out first.
Yeah, I believe that is Pingu out first. So here we go then. Here he is.
Yep, looking on my screen right now. Is it Pingu who's out first? I don't know. There's just a bit of lag going on here. Actually, tell a lie, it's Fez who's out first.
It's Fez that went out first. There we go then. Current championship leader is Fez.
Indeed, let's have a good look at what he can do here. So obviously, to begin with, it's just a simple out lap, make sure you're doing all right. As we look at him now, I'm just having a look where He is located on my track map, and it's completely the wrong way round. Thank you. Thank you, Wikipedia. Right. Heading into Dunlop Curve to begin with. So it's a swooping hairpin, and I don't particularly enjoy that hairpin. It gets me, it confuses me. So we obviously hear Michael Schumacher's S's, named after, you know, one of the greatest of all time in my opinion, Michael Schumacher. Turn 11 is Kumho Curve, and then turn 12 is called Bit Curve. So there's a friendly bit of track knowledge for you guys as Fez makes his way down this little straightaway towards turn 13, which is Hats and Becks. Try and say that 14 times. Into turn 14, 15, which is called Vidal, as he gets ready to start his flying lap. Turn 16, amply named Coca-Cola Curve. Right, let's get going then, shall we? On board with Fez for his flying lap. Here we go. He's making his way down this, getting a good amount of speed as he approaches turn number 1. Straight into the Castrol S, goes flying in there, plenty of brakes, nice and tight on the steering wheel, turns right in, perfect exit. He is now into Mercedes Arena, turn 3. Oh, a little bit of oversteer there, brake recovery. Giving it all the beans, he has to give it all the beans, depending on the track as well. If the track is fast, it's not that much grip. He makes his way down RTL and into Ford. Perfect exit up there, using all of the curb on the exit, brilliant. Go onto Dunlop Curve, turn 8. Gets nice and tight to the curb there, plenty of turning on the steering wheel, which is giving that DD wheel a perfectly good crank. And into Schumacher S's, using all the curb on the outside, flicks it in, turns in, uses the exit of the curb. Perfect, numbers up straight away. Nicely executed, Fez showing all the composure. Considering he's got, I think it's Pingu behind him who's chasing him down a little bit.
I think that is Pingu, yeah.
Indeed, yep. So into the Vidal complex, 14, 15. He's using all the curb there, being very calm on the steering and throttle control as we head into Coca-Cola. And that's his flying lap done. I believe he has done a 157.992. And Pingu just blitzes it with a 56.9.
Immediately in there with a 56.9. Pingu is definitely here to stay.
Yeah, that was a very good lap for Fez, and then obviously Pingu being extremely quick and extremely experienced despite his young age, is definitely showing it here.
Absolutely fantastic lap by Pingu and Fez collectively. Snooty pushes into 3rd place with a 58.2, pushing Grim down into 4th place with a 58.4. Just behind Grim is Pally with 158.6, and Dip currently sits in P6 with a 158.9. Saber, who unfortunately has just come back into the pits, takes up P7 so far with a 59.7, and then we're into Not an Option. Wushel pushes into P6 with a 158.8, firmly planting herself on the leaderboard there. I believe that's Grim behind her as well. Two very, very similar looking cars, the RB cars and the KM, Wushel's KM69.
I'm fully expecting Rochelle to do extremely well here. It's one of her favourite tracks, and the fact that she's driving the Porsche as well really boosts her confidence behind the wheel of that car.
She's driving just behind her teammate at the moment, Sarah. Sarah is actually on her valid lap, so it's up to Wushel to make the space here. I mean, Sarah's got absolutely no sort of obligence. Oh, don't know the word.
I think we'll go with that. We'll go with that.
Obligence.
Obligence. I think I think the best way to describe it is she is not obliged.
Yep.
There we go.
Exactly. She is not obliged to move
I'm not
over.
obliged. As you can
Obligence.
see, yeah. Michelle wants to try and get past, but I think the best thing to do is maybe. I was going to say possibly back off a little bit, but that's down to her, that she can do it. Sarah's on a clean lap as well. They're both on a clean lap, obviously. We'll see how it goes. Whoa. Bit spicy.
Bit tight to happen. Shocks is also on a quick lap as well, so you know it's not as if anybody's set to move here. I believe that's Grim looking to overtake the AMs as we come into the Schumacher S's. That's definitely an invalid lap for whoever that was. Let's see who that was. I think that was, but it's not Grim, so that must have been Seffi. Then yeah, so it was Seffi that was caught up in that little mix. She gets ahead of the pack, so gets some nice clean air to try again. Currently in P16 at the moment with a 202, with Blade Wolf ahead on a 201, so she's got some to do there, but Skylar's immediately gone ahead of her as we see Grim come back out from the pits. There's Shocks just moving over to let lap cars by.
Yeah, just going back to quickly towards Seffi. I mean, commendable that they are driving, I believe, on a gamepad, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but that's some good driving. No matter if you're on a wheel with this car, with gamepad.
100%. We also have Grim, who's in P4, who's also on a gamepad as well. I don't know how they do it. They must be superhuman or something like that to have full control of this car on a gamepad. But needless to say, I believe currently Seffi is currently leading the AM Championship in the Porsche Cup. So it was as of last week she scored enough points to put herself in P1 among all the amateur drivers out on track there. So very good effort from her so far through this series.
Yep, really, really great stuff. It is good to watch some drivers that actually who don't have a wheel, who use a pad, which in its own right on a Assetto Corsa on ACC, which is definitely more of a racing simulator than, say, for example, your Gran Turismos, where you can sort of use a gamepad to be quick. It's a big challenge without a wheel and pedals.
Oh,
but, so that's
a little bit of a loss there.
Woof. Yep, for sure. But yeah, no, it is. I tell you what, it is commendable. Even I'm like, even I struggle on a pad. Like I cannot drive very well on a pad at all.
What we're going to do, we're going to go back up to the grid then. So obviously we've got this young lad, Pingu, number 722, with a 156.9. He's still trying to best his lap. He's on an out lap at the moment. However, there's been a bit of a change from that point down. Caffey has literally just now pushed in to P2 with a 157.1. Wushel sits in P3 with a 157.7. Leftism, one of the other RV cars, is pushed up to P4. Grim, sadly, has been pushed all the way down to P7, with Fez and Snooty besting his time so far. Pally is up to P8. Dip moves down from P6 to P9, and Newbie, or Nick, makes up the final top 10 position so far, with Saber very close to pushing for that time.
Indeed, it seems like, as I expected it to be, Rochelle, P3 at the moment, phenomenal qualifying at the moment for her perspective, because again, if you got your strengths, you got your favourite track, you got one of your favourite cars, you're gonna want to push it to the absolute limit, and Rochelle proving once again why she really enjoys Nurburgring and why she really enjoys Porsche cars.
Definitely an absolute star in the Porsche as well. Her favourite car, even though she does She does drive other cars. It's not uncommon that she'll sometimes put the Porsche down for a little bit, but certainly in ACC and with Simufur, that is the car that she solidly plants herself in. There, she takes herself down into turn 1 on another flying lap. We'll go on board with her now, see how she handles the various corners of Nurburgring, especially this tricky first sector. I like Nurburgring, but this first sector is an absolute nightmare, or it can be if you don't get it absolutely right.
It's yeah, the Mercedes Arena section is a very, very, very silly part of the track. It's such a slow sector, but if you get it right, you can get some serious speed out of the corners in leading into this section here, running into the hairpin. As Michelle is absolutely on it. So much micro movements of that steering wheel to keep that Porsche planted.
And the funny thing is as well, Wuschel's actually on a steering wheel, so you can imagine just how hard she's working. We've got a few cars that need to get out of the way of her there. That is, I believe, option. Whoa, that was a very good catch by Wuschel. She's
big glide.
Still on a valid lap though. She's not gone invalid yet. Not does have to get out of the way. That's very close. She does find a way around him though. That was, oof! Thank gosh it was done before this chicane here, because that could have been an absolute nightmare for both drivers there.
Yep. So we should have, depending on what her time is here, for Michelle, she could potentially do another lap after this. So we'll get back to that shortly.
Meanwhile, slightly further down the grid, someone we've not concentrated on tonight is Saber Kitsun, holding happily in P8 at the moment. Now Fez is the time to beat at a 1:57.9. Saber's currently sat at a 58.2. And we can see from the timing board that Saber is a little bit up on his previous lap, so everything to play for with this final minute and a half left of qualifying. He is coming up on a slow car though, so we'll hope that the slow car gets out of the way in good time, or gets quick in good time as well. I believe that is Sarah in the KM 604.
Yep, that is indeed. It's a case of if there is a slower driver in front of you, it's down to the driver in front, especially if they aren't on a valid lap. Oh, they went wide anyway, so plenty of time for Saber to get back on up to race pace. That was a bit scary when you look on the Delta and you see a Porsche that has run wide attempt to rejoin the track very close to you. So we shall monitor the situation there. If we stay in with Saber here at the moment, they are currently up on their times by the looks of things. Curse of the commentator, I will be quiet.
I've noticed actually, as you've said that, the Delta for Saber is slowly but surely ticking down. So, but it is coming back up again now, so he is back on it. He's had a little bit of traffic to deal with there, which is probably where he's lost the time. So if he gets across the line in the next 10 seconds, which doesn't appear to be possible, then he could potentially go for it again. However, this does look like it's going to be his final chance. Then he'll take P8.
He's had a very good exit out of the chicane there.
We'll see where it puts him. It's P9 at the moment, but he could be up on his time.
Could overtake Fez here.
He's gone all the way up to 6th place. What a lap from Saber Kitsun. Jumping both Fez, Dip and Leftism for P6. Next target is Grim Lilith then. Who else is out on the track? We have Joker still on a lap. Again, up on his time currently, and building up on his time as well. So he's in for another good lap, potentially to push into the top 10 there.
Yep, Joker is definitely in for a wild ride, especially in the midfield. Obviously the Porsches in the midfield are Well, they're a bit. It's a bit feisty, is the best way to describe it.
It's certainly the elbows come out and the arms extend along to the slap round the back of the head as well with the AM class. So hopefully he can get himself ahead of the AM class to be fighting up there with the leaders. Because I can tell you, if the AM class get round him, they are not going to be kind. They want exactly what everyone else wants, and they're not afraid to go and get it. So we'll see that probably come towards race 2 when all the AM class start at the front, unless all of them win in this race now. But here we go then, Joker coming into the final chicane. Before we go around the final hairpin, he is about 300ths of a second up on his time at the moment, but that is dropping. No, it is climbing actually. But here we go then, onto the start finish straight, and Joker pushes up to 12th where he currently sat, so not much of an improvement there for Joker, but nevertheless a good time set either way.
I mean, very, very close to taking P11 from Nick, but 9 thousandths of no, 8 thousandths of a second, I'm gonna say.
It certainly was, yeah.
Right, so let's sort this out. There we go. So, running down the order, so first place we do have Pingu, but only three tenths below him is Cafe, and we have Snoody in third, Vushel fourth, which is a great result for her. Grim Lily, of course, in fifth, Saber in sixth, great qualifying lap from his perspective. Leftism 7th, Dipping Source 8th, Fez in P9, which is a bit of a surprise. Our championship leader sitting so low down the grid probably didn't have the greatest of qualies, but that's not a problem. Fez is certainly a quick driver, and I'm sure he'll get through the grid. So P10, rounding out top 10, we have Piliqui, I think, if I have butchered the name. We also have 11th, Newbie Nick, Joker in 12th, Kemir's 13th, we have Attic Racer in 14th, Paula Brady in 15th, and very close behind her is Blade Wolf, which is again 16th. Not a bad result for him from his perspective. Not an option 17th, one of the newer drivers. Very good result for them. Skylar Vixen 18th, Sephi 19th, All Out Fops 20th, Sarah in 21st. Very good result, respectable result from her perspective. Gox in 22nd, and rounding up the 23 drivers, we have Electroshock.
Thank you for that. So a couple of minutes then before we go to the start-finish grid where we can get underway with some decent racing from all 23 drivers. Drivers will have about 2.5 minutes on the grid to just finish off setting up, pick the desired amount of petrol they want before going on a full warm-up lap of the Nurburgring to get the tyres up to speed and warm. It's worth noting these cars don't have tyre blankets on, so the drivers are going onto a relatively cool track with cold tyres, so there is going to be some work to be done there just to get them up to temperature before we go to racing speeds. You can see some of the cars bopping up and down now. That is the drivers popping in and out of the garage just to double check the fine tuning of things, maybe sort out a few things like the wings, suspension and whatnot, because you can't exactly reach out with a screwdriver during your race and fix these things, so you want it sorted really before lights out.
Yep, for sure. And so here we go, 3 minutes. The track has darkened significantly. Obviously we are set the race 1, and it's race 1 to be on the same day as qualifying, so the grip should still be there. Fingers crossed. I don't think it would have rained in that hour. So yeah, and then race 2 we operate on the Sunday, so again 9 PM. Who knows? It could potentially rain over the night. Who knows? But we'll see. Yes, so 3 minutes to go. Well, 2.5 minutes before we go racing for race 1.
I'd just like to say, I don't know how it's doing it, but this camera angle is giving an absolute fantastic rundown of the grid. I could swear I did not push a button, but we're getting to see every driver from P23 shocks slowly all the way through to Fez Fox there in P9. You can see the cars jumping up and down a bit as the drivers pop in and out of the garage just to sort their setups out. Coming back down there, you've got Leftism in P7 and Sabre just next to him. Oh, sorry, excuse me, that's Dip in car number 38 in P8. Next up, just in front of Sabre there, as we've seen, it's Grim Lilith, and to his left will be Sabre Kitsune. As we slowly but surely make our way down to the top 3, which will be Pingu, Caffey and Snooty before we go racing.
Yep, of course. It's, again, race 1 is pretty much like a 20-minute sprint. Everyone's going to go at a full chad, full speed, and not pull any punches. Whereas race 2, you got the additional 10 minutes added on, so 30 minutes. Again, sprint race conditions, so you can go as fast as you like, but you just have to remember you got an extra 10 minutes to not burn yourself out. Essentially, calm down, maybe have a 10-minute off the throttle, and then give it the beans afterwards.
100%. So this is definitely where the pros get to do all the work and score most of the points, race 1, because they know even though they have a good finish afterwards, they're going to be starting right at the back of the grid. And there is our man at the front. There is Pingu. Oh, okay, we don't want to see that run through again. We'll wait until they go. So drivers are now getting 20-second warnings. Everybody testing their lights, their flashers, getting everything ready to go. Hopefully everyone is ready to go by the time we hit lights out. If they're not ready to go by the time this timer counts down, they are automatically teleported to the pits, and they have a very, very long wait. However, that looks like no one at the moment. So excellent. So Pingu gets away nice and slowly.
Yeah, the screams of those big flat 6 engines, some of them light up their rear tyres as they leave their box for the rolling start. Obviously, it's such a great sounding engine. You know, that Flat 6, I think it's a 4.4 litre. It is probably one of the better sounding cars because it revs to a good like 9,000 RPM. And it just screams down into turn 1, especially down here where you've got that long run before hitting those brakes as hard as you physically can. You know, put the brake pedal through the bottom of the floor essentially to get these cars to a stop.
And extend the parachutes as well, just to make sure they definitely stop.
For sure. Because these cars, unlike their big brother or big sister, the GT3 Porsches, I think they have a little bit less brake power than the Porsches in this game, I should say. Because the Porsche GT3, the newer one, is you can pretty much stop that car faster than I can think. Because the brakes on Porsches are ridiculous in ACC.
And you've got the addition to the GT3 there that they have traction control, so none of these drivers through this series have had traction control to play with because the car simply doesn't come with it. So they really have had their mettle tested in this Porsche Cup car, and the few that have made it to round 5 here at Nurburgring have certainly got used to the car now. Hopefully in good time for when we go to Bathurst next week, because that will be not only a good race but the ultimate test of car driving skill for all these drivers as they take on the mountain.
Yep, it is without a doubt one of the scarier sectors in world motorsport and racing in general. No matter what car you drive, it is absolutely terrifying when you're flying over the mountain at like 90 or 100 miles an hour, trying to get that big fucking hunk of metal to stop when there's other cars behind you giving you multiple heart attacks if you're going by two by two down the mountain.
here we go then. We come up to the end of the warm-up lap. You can see all the cars are beginning to form back up into the 2x2 formation. They've still got quite a way to go though. If you look at the track map in comparison, there's still a chicane for them to negotiate and a hairpin, all in 2x2 before they get up to about 40 kilometers an hour before then going for lights out. You can see them coming onto the final hairpin now.
This is it. This is where it gets interesting. Race 1 is almost to go at 9:20 p.m. so we expect the race to finish around about 1:45. So as drivers line up, here we go. About 70 k's. Green light. Here we go. Racing down to turn 1.
Across the line they go then. Pingu holds on very nicely to the lead. Snoop Caffey holds on to P2, but I think Snoopy's overtaken. They come into P1. 4-5 wide into P1. What's going on there? That is, oh, and Dip is round, and there is mass chaos as Fez gets caught up in it as well. Come back onto the track. They're still determined to go 3 wide. Some of these cars. That is 100%.
Oh yeah.
A not good start.
No, not a good start. We've got 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it looks like four cars have had an absolute shocker going into turn 1 as expected. I'm just having a quick look through now. Seffi's got some quite bad damage to the front of their car. Gox has been caught up in it, one of the newer drivers. Electroshock's another one of the new drivers caught up. Unfortunately, we also had Fops caught up in it. Oh dearie me, what a start. As expected at a night race at Nurburgring.
I think the first incident there was, I believe it involved Gox, Shocks and Fops. What a rhyme. Gox, Shocks and Fops all came together, and unfortunately it seemed like Sarah just lost it slightly.
Yep. Again, it's the case of just keep. If it was a much bigger accident, we could have red flagged it. But I'm looking at the situation now. It seems to have cleared itself up pretty quickly.
Coming back up the rest of the grid, it seems to be going smoothly so far. There's very much a train of cars as we come into the final hairpin, and that's with Grim, Wusho and Caffey all challenging one another. There's been an incident between Pally and Cammers at the back of the track, so that is 2 cars that are now going to have to just focus on safely rejoining, getting back up to speed, and they're going to do it. They're going to have to do it pretty quickly, as we've got Kevin, we've got Skylar, Joker, Not an Option, and Blade all making their way back through there. So I believe Sarah's having an absolute nightmare.
Yep, you barely get any time to think, especially here, especially at Nurburgring, where it is a very narrow track. There's always something going on, and I think it is to be expected around this kind of track. As I'm looking up my screen here, looking at Blade, who is currently holding P13. Bit of a flash, I think. I don't know. And
Leftism's just lost it as well. Leftism comes sliding off the track. He's going to have to look to rejoin. That's about 4 places he's just lost. 5 places as he nearly sideswipes Cammers as he comes through there.
Yeah, I just had a quick look at that. Of course, rejoining this track is difficult. If you do end up leaving the track for whatever reason, hopefully not intentionally, is rejoining is a nightmare, because the cars that we got here, the Porsches, are quite wide, so they are going to take up a lot of the track.
Oh, we can see that there as Saber and Wushel go 2x2 through up into sector 3, followed very closely by Nick. These two are not leaving one another alone. Wushel's got just a slight edge coming into the chicane, but Saber's not going to leave her alone, and Nick may be there to pick up the pieces. Nope, Wushel's definitely gotten out better. Good Saber got there. Oh, there's nearly a backup of cars there, but just slightly back there. Fez almost lost position to Dip. Fez has managed to move up to P8, so 1 higher than what he was in. Sarah seems to have pulled into the pit. She's had enough for now. And needless to say, Wushel goes first into turn 1, followed by Saber, Nick, Fez and Dip, all keen for a slice of that P5 action.
Yep, it seems like the most action on the grid at the moment is P5. I think Wushel's just got a little bit of an edge heading out of the arena section. She's been absolutely on it, kept it clean, kept her nose clean as well as just behind Wushel with Saber, you know, Nubi and Fez, all wanting a slice, as you said, but in my terms, wanting a slice of P5 pie.
They certainly do, but it looks like Wushel is beginning to open a gap to Saber, nearly a second off that, and then we've got Nick nearly a second off of Saber, so they've sorted themselves back out again, it seems, but just behind them, Nick, Fez and Dip are all beginning to get closer and closer to one another, and Nick's holding out so far, but we'll see what he can do. Fez cuts a little bit of grass there, so that will slow him up a little bit, but meanwhile it seems like Paula in car number 148 has managed to sneak up behind everybody in this battle so far, followed closely by Kevin. Oh wait, no, hold on, what am I doing? Nope, she hasn't closed up. It is Dip that brings up the rear of that train so far.
Yep, I just had a quick look. So yeah, Paula is currently keeping Kevin at bay. I think it's in P11. There's a slight bit of damage on the back of Paula's car. Don't know if that's affecting her aero or any sort of engine performance whatsoever. Of course, the E-cars, these Porsches have the engines right at the back, right behind the rear axle as well, so could be affecting performance possibly.
Just seen two drivers at the back of the grid there. They've lost positions. That's Skylar, both Skylar and Cammers, so they're not having a great race one. However, Skylar seems to be catching up with Pally as we go through turn 1. We'll see if she can get the undercut. She might be, no, she is a little bit too far away for that to happen. So, but it seems that leftism has moved and taken the position from Blade Wolf. We didn't quite catch that there, but Blade Wolf's doing very well to hold on. Needless to say, though, he's now down in P14 after losing 2 positions.
Yep. Just going through. I'm just having a quick look through the grid now. I think Fez has lost that position back. Dip has got around him. I believe Fez is carrying damage, so it's a case of damage limitation for Fez. Hopefully has a better race 2 as our current championship leader, of course. Pingu, who set the fastest lap of the race, is absolutely just walking away up front. Who's just set the fastest lap with 56 sticks. That's on race conditions, everyone.
It's phenomenal time. I mean, would come just slightly down from Pingu, well, 4.6 seconds down from Pingu is Snooty in P2 with a 158.1. The absolute pace difference between Pingu and Snooty is ridiculous. He's being chased by Grim Lilith at the moment, who's about 0.04 of a second off and pushing continuously as they come down into turn 1. Grim got very close there. We'll see if it looked like an outside option. It's not going to quite happen. It may possibly be an undercut, but it seems that Snooty's got too much of a gap there on Grim in order for him to take over. So well held by Snooty, but as you can see, Grim's clearly not giving up as he creeps closer and closer and closer, and there's a slightly bad exit coming out of that sector there.
Yep. I was just looking a little bit further down the grid. I was just my eyes just caught at the corner of my eye Saber Kitsune in the arena section, getting all sorts of sideways. But thankfully they held it, which because they're currently trying to hold off Nick and Dip behind him. But obviously that slide didn't help their cause whatsoever.
He's done well to recover for it, considering Nick and Dip have been going at it properly on this race so far. Nick is closing just a little bit a little bit more, as we can see here. It must be quite a frightening sight for Sabre. He's got 3 cars behind him, all keeping pace in Nick, Dip and Fez. So Fez again losing out to Nick and Dip. Maybe tonight's just not his night, but we'll see what happens come race 2. Who's that? Somebody went a little bit sideways there. I think that was Dipping Sauce. Went a little bit sideways, and that's allowed Fez to come back through, but Dip's not going to take that light-handed as we come into a bit of a kink in the track before the chicane. We'll see if Dip can get the pass done before the chicane. It's not going to happen. Fez Fox gets through first, and Dip remains very close behind, getting a little bit of a better exit. Catching up against turn 1, just ahead of them. Nick and Sabre still going hard at it, coming out of the last turn as we get the halfway mark call from, I believe it's Luigi, Azure calls him.
Yep, I believe his name's Luigi. So, as I look back, Fez managed to get his personal best time of a 57.6, so he's had a very, very quick lap time despite carrying, if he has any, carrying damage. Excuse me, as the pressure from Dip behind him. Fez was essentially getting those elbows out. I think those elbows were so far out, they were literally covering the entire Nurburgring and the Nordschleifer as well.
Just doing his best to say, no, I am the champion, I'm going to keep my championship, and none of yous are getting by, and so I'll let you. Of course, he's got 7 other cars that are going to tell him otherwise. For now, but he is pulling away from Dip, so he's got that clean air to just put the pedal to the metal and get as far up of the grids as he can now. Nick and Sabre are next targets for him.
Yep. I'm just looking through the grids. So at the moment, as I look at it, I've just gone to Skylar Vixen, who has a little bit of a train forming behind her. For P14, one of the AM split drivers. Camiers is directly behind her, about 4/10. So there's a little bit of a ding-dong battle going on behind Skylar. Skylar can hold her nerve. Yep. That's perfect. It's good awareness there from Skylar. Hold your line. Make sure, you've got some quite experienced racers behind her, so she needs to concentrate, get her head down and look down the order, because you've got Camiers, who's a pretty quick AM driver, and you have Blade as well, who's been consistent in P16. Not really had any issues, so good on him.
It's interesting to see a few of the silver drivers mixed in with the AM class, especially that far down the grid, although it has been consistent performance from him in P16. You wonder how it ended up that way, especially letting 2 AM drivers get ahead of you and not being able to make up the gap. I'm wondering if he's just got major damage that he's carrying as well, that it's not been able to let him extract the performance out of the car.
I don't think so. Maybe a tiny bit of damage, as the makes the move is Piliqui, who has gone through to take P16 off of label. That was one bold move heading into turn 1.
He's realised he's got 7 minutes left and he needs to get it done. He needs to get whatever he can done. Not an option. Seems to have had a bit of an accident off track there. That is a shame. He was doing well to keep up with everyone. Next car behind him is Electroshocks, but Electroshocks is about 30 seconds behind and being... Oh, who's that? I believe that is... Fops has overtaken him to come into the pits. So we certainly hope that... Oh, Fops just got that car stopped. Will be interesting to see what happens there, and it looks like someone's run at that car with a sledgehammer.
Yep, I was going to say I don't think it's Fox's race today, but you never know. Race 2 is only 6 minutes away. They can sit back, grab themselves a cup of tea, and relax for a little bit. If they don't plan on going out to get more laps in, but it's down to him. We'll see if he comes back. If not, he'll be back for race 2, no doubt.
coming back up the grid, we've seen here that Joker's just managed to overtake KM Attic Racer, or Kevin, and he's chasing Paula, car number 148 Paula, who holds the final top 10 position tonight in race 1. So well done to Paula for holding on. She looks like she's not got much damage to the car. She just needs to hold on for another 5.5 minutes.
Yep. So yeah, there's pockets of races going on. We've got this little ding dong battle for top 10 with Paula leading the charge, and then we got just a little bit ahead. Then we still have the fight for, I believe I'm going to say, is P6, because now Nick is in front of Fez, and I believe Fez is actually on a bit of a charge here. Fez is now 7th. I think he's got the lead out now. He's figured out how to handle the car with the damage it's got. As we got a slow car, I believe, ahead. Who's gone off ahead? Oh no, never mind. It's one of the back markers who's been struggling. I believe that is Gox.
It is Gox.
Just getting out of the way. Getting out of the way of the lead drivers, which knows it's commendable.
We can see that there now. It's a bit of a thin track to do that on. Nick loses the car, just allows Fez Fox by. Fez Fox desperately telling that back marker that he wants past now, because Sabre has also managed to get by Nick. They just get it done before the chicane. Oh dear, and it's I believe that was Nick that went a little bit too deep in the corner.
Yep. I'm probably gonna say no, that's not live stream. Great when heavy collision there, but it's just a fair warning for anyone who does. Even if you try and get out of the way, don't stop on track. And well, I'm going to suggest to people.
Seems that Nick's been caught up in a great battle here between himself, Dip, and Sabre, although he just lost out there by losing the car coming out of turn 1. So Dip and Sabre Kitsun have begun to fight. It's now Dip in P8. Nope, excuse me, Dip in P7 with Sabre in P8, and now Nick is left to pick up the pieces. He hasn't got anything to worry about behind him, because the next car behind is Paula, who's 11 seconds off, but is being rapidly chased by Joker, Leftism, and now Kevin as we reach the last 3 minutes of the race. She's got a lot of defending to do. Joker looks at the outside of Paula coming into... I can't see what time that is.
Yeah, it's alright, not a problem. Obviously, it's chaotic. Paula's done very, very well to hold her line, hold her nerve. As I think I've just seen a car go off ahead of her. That's electroshocks again. One of the back markers seem to be struggling with the car. It's P10. This little pain train, I'm going to say, forming behind her. Oh, it might get a bit spicy here. Who knows? As we go into the Schumacher S's.
Certainly looks like it's getting a little bit squirrely. Paula has got a lot to worry about, as Joker is right on her rear wing, as is Leftism on Joker's wing, so neither car have space to breathe at the moment. They're all within at least 0.02 of a second of her and gaining rapidly.
Yep, it's that top 10 position. Paula is hanging on to it for dear life as we head into the chicane. But yes, we've got directly behind, as you say, as the race is sort of lingering in the background, waiting for an opportunity to overtake, as I believe we probably are into our final lap of the race, maybe.
I think so, it's not quite announced it yet, but Joker again goes for an outside move coming into the first chicane, but that could be defended well by Paula if she just holds the inside. It's not Joker. Yeah. Oh, she's lost that car. And Leftism and Joker get through. That's a shame. That's an absolute shame. And out of the points goes Paula.
Yep. That's it is a shame. It is one of those things that can happen in racing. You just gotta pick yourself up. There's another race to go yet, so don't fret about it too much. Just head down, concentrate on the next race.
Let's go slightly further up the grid. So we've got Saber being chased by Nick there, that's holding strong as it is. However, back up the top, we've got Grim, who now holds P3, still holds P3. 10 seconds ahead of, oh no, sorry, a second and a half ahead of Grim is Snooty, but Cafe is pushing further and further and further closer to Grim as we reach the last 30 seconds of the race. Pingu in the track map is going to go across the line now. That's a bit of a track cut there for Grim.
That's, yep, needs to be careful there. You could get a track cut warning for that. But I believe Cafe has got through and snatched his P3 anyway.
It has definitely got through.
So last to the podium looks likely for Cafe if Les Grim goes for an overtake, but no. So yes, this is the last lap of the race. Obviously out in front, Pingu has completely ran away with it.
Let's have a look at our current leader. 10.9 seconds ahead of P2. Not catching any back markers yet. But look at this. He almost might as well be hot lapping. He's got clean air ahead of him, nothing behind him. It wouldn't surprise if you had an engine mode that you could switch down for fuel saving, which I'm pretty sure you do. I wouldn't be surprised if he'd switched it on by now. He's got all the space in the world. He could even go off, do a donut and come back on again and still maintain that lead. That was an absolutely phenomenal performance so far from Pingu.
Yep, it just goes to show that they have absolutely, they set themselves a high bar and they've went and leaped over it, and they're still leaping over it to this day, I think. So it's a case of just bask it in, just take your foot off the accelerator if you need to, just calm down. You don't need to push yourself too aggressively, but of course they have the fastest lap of the race as well, so an extra point coming their way as we approach the final chicane.
It is
for me
the
anyway.
Final chicane, yep. Oh,
yep.
just
a lot of curb.
gracious me.
They
He's
used
in a hurry to get
of
across
curb.
that line. And here he comes then. Across the line, it is Pingu in P1 for race 1. And there we go, he finishes the race.
Right, yep. So P2, Snooty. Good result for him. P2, can't complain at that at all. And then Cafe P3.
Followed very closely by Grim. Fez made it all the way up to P5. Finally, a top 5, and Wushel close behind in P6. Dip comes round the corner in P7, followed very closely by Saber and Nick, who go side by side. And it is Saber that gets P8, Nick in P9. Joker's 11 seconds behind in P10 with Leftism following very close. So Joker takes the final 10 along with Leftism in P11. Kevin comes home in P12 in a bit of a race of his own there, but shortly behind him is Paula with a bit of a scuff on the front there where she went off in P13. Just behind her is Pally in P14. Bleedwolf did move to take another position to get back up to P15. He comes across the line. Skylar's in P16 but being challenged very closely by Cameras, pushing her all the way to the finish line. P16 and 17, Skylar and Cameras. And then 25 seconds off them comes Seffi coming through the final chicane now onto the final hairpin. I believe ahead of her is the back markers of the grid. So they come home to finish in their respective positions. That's Electroshocks in 20, Gox in 21, Fops in 22. Seffi takes a bit of a dink as she comes home in P19. And then there is not an option. Very damaged car there, but well done. He brings it home in P19.
Yep. Steffi was P18, not an option, P19, so completely out of everything. We had Gox, all at Fops, and Sarah to round out.
And there we go, that is us disconnected for now. We'll be back very shortly.
Yep, indeed.
welcome back. If you're still with us, we are in the final 2.5 minutes of free practice before we go on to the reverse grid race. Zarr, something you've not yet experienced?
No, this is completely brand new to me. I was a little slight confusion for me to log back in. I was like, how do I do this again? Oh, yeah, no, and then I was like, oh yes, right, okay. So yes, when it comes to the reverse grid procedure, what I've been told, a little birdie told me in the ear roll, is essentially just wait until it says server has been disconnected, and then rejoin after it goes back up, which usually is pretty instantaneous.
It's exactly that. We've got the final 2 minutes left now, so the drivers are allowed out to practice the track again. It won't affect the grid options. We are still going to go in for a full reverse grid. We appear to have lost a couple of racers as well, so obviously they won't get to learn reap the havoc that is P1 and starting this race.
No, in a strange way, we'll see what happens with the two missing drivers. I mean, I guess who didn't finish last is probably now promoted to first. We'll see. I don't know if that actually works, but we'll see.
I think what will happen is essentially it will put them in P2, but obviously it will declare them as P1 when the race starts. Nevertheless, whoever it was that finished in dead last gets to take that pole position seat as we go into the second feature race of the night, the 30-minute long night race on the Nurburgring.
Yep. It's another sprint race essentially, but 30 minutes is no, I'd say a respectable amount of time.
Just a little bit more fuel required than last time, but obviously a little bit more work to do with looking after the tyres. A little bit more time to think about what you're doing as well, especially with the Pro and Silver class working their way from the back of the grid up. Pingu, once again, now that he's joined us again this week, gets the delightful challenge of last to first. He will start in absolute dead last at the beginning of this race.
Yep. As we finish up the last of the practice, we usually set up this practice so that people can join in, and usually when everyone's in, we sort of wait and fast forward it, unless, of course, we start. Here we go. So
like that. There you go.
A bit like that. There we go. So it seems like as the reverse grid goes, we have All Out Fops in first, which is not a bad position considering they're not a bad driver. Gox second, and Electroshock's third, not an option fourth, Sephi in fifth, Kemi sixth, Skarlovix in seventh, and then we have Blade, Pally, Paula, and we have ourselves Attic, we have Leftism, Joker, Newbie, Saber, Divin Source, Rochelle, Fez, Grim, Cafe, Snooty, Pingu, and yeah, Pingu.
And I believe, apparently, making it just for the last race is Jamie from car number 303. So he starts absolutely 100% dead last. Probably some pieces to pick up after turn 1, I reckon.
I mean, joining for race 2? Fair enough. I did not expect that. That's caught me by surprise a bit. So yes, of course, welcome Jamie. So it's good to see you out on track for race 2. I hope it's not too dramatic for you. So here we go. As we count down a timer for 1 minute 40. People just getting there, making sure their tyres are, the right tyres, the right fuel loads, because you're going to need to do, if my guesstimation is correct, another 5 extra laps.
Just seen one of the drivers is poking his nose into the chat to say, not a bad driver, just you wait. So there we go. That was Fops from P1 taking a quick minute out of looking ahead of the grid to join in with us drivers.
Yeah, so Fox, I know you're listening in and you're sort of waiting for the race to begin. Good luck out there. That's all I'm going to say. Whoever's sending it into turn 1, I strongly recommend you don't do that because that hairpin is a nightmare.
30 seconds.
So here we go then, 30 seconds. You can see the back of the grid, the lights will start to come on again. A couple of people test the flashes, test the full beam headlights, get them ready to go. And it will be Fops that leads us into the opening warm-up lap of race 2.
10 seconds.
I believe everybody has started. Yep, everybody is up and running. You can see with all the flashing going on, everybody's ready to go. And everybody gets away. Just waiting for Fops to take the go. There he goes eventually. Now we're waiting for Gox to go. There we go. They eventually get away. That's it. They've realised it's go time. And now it is Fops that holds P1 for the moment and leads our warm-up lap.
Yep, one of our silver drivers leads us into the first corner, which I'm really hoping doesn't be as dramatic as race 1, but we shall see. I will hold my breath in a bated fashion, and we shall see.
We've got Gox here as well in P2, who had a bit of an unfortunate turn 1 in lap 1, and that was from the back of the grid. Hopefully he's realised he's got another 20 odd drivers behind him this time round, so he's just going to stay calm and just get through that corner. There's no one to crash into apart from Fops in P1, but I imagine Fops from the word go will be doing his absolute best to push as far as he can.
For sure. So 30 minutes, so looking at roughly, I'd say it'll be a bit later than 10 o'clock on game time, so it will be nice dark by the time the race ends. So I've not covered a reverse grid race, so I don't know what to expect, so I'm just going to go out here and wing it.
Here we go then. So who's got that is it, it's Seffi, car number 22. She gets to start in P5 for this race after finishing I believe it was P15 last race, so got a great opportunity ahead of her. Not many cars to overtake.
Yep. Kamirs and Seffi, if they can somehow get past the two other AM drivers in front of them, Shocks and Gox, they might actually be up in front. Has someone gone off on the warm-up lap?
You know, that wouldn't surprise me. It's not been uncommon for the last few weeks that you've not been here. Someone does get a little bit over-ambitious. It was Gox. Gox went off. There we go. He's back up again. Someone does get a little bit ambitious on the throttle. I mean, I've been guilty of it myself, and that was in the GT3 Bentley. Not nice.
I remember.
Not nice if you catch the car. And there's someone in the pits already, though. It's Jamie. He's returned to pits. I wonder what happened there.
I think Jamie probably wants to just maybe start from the pit lane. I mean, it's not a bad strategy.
It certainly isn't a bad strategy. I mean, he was at the very back of the grids. So, I mean... Oh, nevertheless, here we go. Final corner.
Right, final corner, yep, as we run up to begin with, all out Fops, making sure they got nice throttle control, 70 kph. So, here we go then, race 2 is a go. Here we go again.
Take a deep breath and away we go down to turn 1. Fops gets away quite cleanly with Seffi pushing up on the inside. Oh no, it's Shocks on the inside. Gox loses it, takes the sign with him. And there we go, it's Shocks makes it nice and cleanly in P2. Not an option, takes P3, but Skylar has very much pushing up to P4.
Off in the back. There's been a off at the back. I'm just going through.
That was Joker and Nick, and also Seffi's gone off. Blade Wolf's gone off. Gox has gone off. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Dipping Sauce has gone off. There's been a huge pile up in the back there, but it's allowed Fops to just open the gap now. 2.7 seconds on Not an Option, who holds P2, and Skylar Vixen in P3.
I'll tell you what, I did say, you know, touch wood, Fops has pulled out a gap. I tell you, like I said, they are doing very well, getting themselves away. They could, you never know, they could potentially have a podium here if the as the other drivers come through now as the telemetry updates. Newbie, I think, had an off, so we're still waiting for the telemetry to come up there. There we go. So, Fops, Not an Option, and Skylar Vixen. So Skylar Vixen managed to get themselves into P3. Well done, I believe.
She's lost it, actually. She's now gone down to P5. Not an Option had a bit of an off there, but he's okay. Pally has moved to overtake Leftism, and Leftism now has Skylar behind, but Skylar's got a little bit of a train of cars behind her. Fez Fox goes side by side with Cammers, gets cleanly through there, and now he works his way up the inside of Skylar Vixen coming into the chicane. Look how cleanly he gets it done. His next target is Leftism in P4, and it's Pingu's gone off. Pingu's lost positions, and away down the grid Pingu goes.
Oh wow, yes.
Dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Sparing Pingu's blushes, Fez must now realise he's got to get through the last of these drivers so he can get that first place. He must know now.
He certainly must know now. So next up then is Leftism in P4. As we see ahead, Pally goes round the inside of Not an Option. Here, Leftism's caught up to the grid. I think Fez had a bit of a bad exit on that corner there. But needless to say, Not an Option getting it done. Pally moves to P2, but Option here has now 3 cars on him. Leftism goes up the inside and gets a great exit through the corner. Fez Fox follows directly behind. They go almost 3 wide coming down into the hairpin. And Leftism takes full advantage of that. That is very close. Fez moves up the inside as well and leaves Not an Option, no option but to give up the position.
Fantastic bit of driving from all 3 of these drivers. I mean, Fez utilising the up the inside there. Option moving down to P5, sparing, you know, unfortunate for them, but well done for that very clean bit of driving from all 3 drivers. Fantastic to watch.
And it seems like just going back down the grid there, it seems like Pingu's making his way back up through the grid. Here he goes through 2 cars at once nearly. Oh my god, it's Seffi gets it done. And he nearly took Nick with him as well. Nick is now going to move to defend off Pingu. We saw Nick defend off Pingu last week. Nick and Pingu had a great bit of racing going around it, but somehow Pingu just found the gap and went. So here we go into the chicane. Pingu getting closer and closer. Nick's getting... Oh, there's a car going into the pits there. I'm not sure who that was, but nevertheless Pingu goes up the inside of Nick, and someone's lost it on the grid there. That was Gox who's gone off.
That was scary. I mean, very good driving from Pingu. I think as well Nick is carrying a lot, quite substantial front end damage, because I'm just looking at it now. So they're going to be struggling for all sorts of grip, especially with the Porsches having virtually no weight at the front, just a fuel tank. It's going to be challenging for them to keep going. As I'm still looking at Pingu here, who's pushing for P15. Still got a few people ahead of him.
What was that overtake? That was... Oh, wow. I don't know about that. That was a little bit off track. I mean, but needless to say, he does get around shocks. Nick gets around shocks as well.
These cars bounce up and down like space hoppers over the curbs. It is ridiculously bouncy.
certainly is, and I believe it was Dip who's coming into the pits. I'm not sure what he's come into the pits for. Hopefully it's not a retirement. There is still 24 minutes left of this race. We're going to go back. Oh, yeah, there we go. Dip gets going again. Jamie unfortunately didn't start. Must have been something that held him back from starting. However, there we go. Dipping Sauce gets right back on track and gets back to it. Plenty of time left to make up some positions. His next target is Joker, who is almost a minute ahead, so he's got some time to go. But Joker here is challenging Gox for position. There he goes, easily up the inside, then moves off, and unfortunately Gox loses it and goes slam into the barrier. That's allowed Dip to close the gap a little bit. However, Joker's now catching up with Seffi. He's got 10 seconds to go, but he seems to be closing the gap up quite eagerly. But needless to say, just up ahead we've got another loads of racing going on up here with Cafe Saber and Paula all getting into it. Oh, someone else has lost it. That was Snooty. Snooty McLeod loses it and drops down the grid.
Oh, he stalled it as well. He stalled it as well. That's not going to help his cause at all.
Cafe moves to take the inside of Skylar Vixen. Saber takes major advantage of Skylar Vixen as well. They come out side by side with one another, but Skylar is just ahead of Saber. Can she defend the inside? Oh, it's just tight round the outside, but Saber makes it work. Paula moves to take the inside as well.
Oh my goodness, this is close.
Fantastic bit of defending from Skylar Vixen there. Very, very well done so far to her, but Paula is not one to let that slide. She knows she's got 20 minutes left to make something happen, so it could be a case of sitting back and waiting for a mistake, or she's going to go for another lunge.
Oh, this is... Do you know what? I'm actually kind of glad I've come back for this race. This race has been... this race too has been absolutely... It's been amazing. So much action up all the way up and down the grid. P10, currently Skylar Vixen, as I am looking at the screen now, doing extremely well to hold off Paulo, doing very... It's... Oh, wow. I'm very glad. It's almost hard to keep up. I can't catch my breath.
In the background, we've just seen Pingu dance easily around Attic Racer, so he now moves to chase Paula. Look at him go. There's I don't know what kind of car he's driving, but it seems like 20 times quicker than everyone else. And needless to say, he's caught Paula up bumper to bumper. Will she move to defend him? She can't. He's already got round her. It's going to be turn one. She's not going to give up the position. They go side by side down the start-finish straight.
Some good defensive driving. As I see, all out Fops is in the wall. Race leader in the wall.
Oh no, race leader is in the wall, and that allows Pally to go through, who's being challenged by Fez Fox. That's an absolute shame for Fox.
I just also had a look. I'm still looking at Pingu. Pingu's actually getting sideways in some of the corners. Talk about a man on an absolute rampage right now.
And he goes round the outside of Skylar again at that same position on the same bit of track. I didn't realise you were allowed to overtake there, but nevertheless, there we go. He gets the pass done. That is him now officially in the top 10 again, all the way from P23.
This is going to be as well. I'm just looking. I've gone straight up to the the fight for the race lead, because Pally is... Well, Fez currently holds the fastest lap of the race, but I tell you what, Pally's doing extremely well to keep Fez Fox at bay. Fez is weaving in and out, left, right. He's very impatient right now. He wants to get past, he wants to take that race lead, and he wants to cement, hopefully, a Porsche Cup title if he manages to get past Pally.
Currently holds the Porsche title as it is. As we know, Pingu missed 2 races, so obviously Pingu finishing P1 last race will be doing his absolute most to get as far up the grid as he can. He's just gone into P8 and taken Saber. He's not that far off of not an option here, but nevertheless we've got Fez who's going for an overtake on the inside. No, he looks at the inside but doesn't quite decide to make it happen just yet, although he's going to try it again maybe in this first sector. He's extremely close to Pally, who's doing very well to defend so far.
That was a big slide from Fez behind him as well, as Fez looks to try and get through, but obviously this section here, the arena section, is not a great place to try and get an overtake done. But Fez he must be chomping at the bit. He's all over the back of the engine of Pally to get past.
We've just seen as well Pingu moves to easily take over, not an option. And so his next target is only a second ahead. It's Caffey. He is again, Pingu is absolutely on it. P23 to P7 at the moment. Fez Fox just up here again with Pally. They are bumper to bumper as they go through the corner. Pally is doing extremely well to defend off Fez Fox. Fez Fox has got to be careful in planning his next move here. So obviously he doesn't want a crash, because then he'll lose the position easily to Pingu, who's about 2 seconds away from moving up to P6 maybe.
It's all a case of how Pingu conducts himself to get through some of the more quicker drivers now. So it's a case of if he has, he needs to be patient, wait for his opportunity, which he has done. P23 to P7 is in.
Oh, and Fez Fox takes a look on the outside for the chicane. Oh, it's Fez Fox that gets past. Gets it done just as the end of the chicane happens and leaves poor Pally with no option but to just let it happen. So he's now got to defend Leftism, who's P3 with the other RV car, Grim Lilith, in P4.
Yep, it's good to see Race Ventura out in force tonight again. They're doing extremely well as the new fastest lap of the race goes to, surprisingly, P6 in Cafe.
It is Cafe there. There he is. He's moving to take, I think that's Cameras just ahead of him, but you can hear the Jaws music playing as Pingu rounds the first corner to catch up to these two. He's got a patient game with these two, because they could, with these two scrapping one another and defending, Pingu could easily move to get through a gap and make up at least 2 positions. We'll see what happens there, but yes, Cafe currently holds the fastest lap of the race.
Yep, or did. Oh, they do. Sorry about that. But
it's a look up the outside as they go into the corner, and he does make it happen very easily. And look at that, Pingu is there to pick up the pieces as well as Cameras goes slightly wide through the corner. Another easy overtake for Pingu, and that's Pingu at P6.
Yep.
Pally's made it back to P1.
Oh, wow. Okay, so they... How is that? Fez must have ran wide somewhere. I have to look back at that one. But Pally's back into P1. Obviously, this little battle has caused Leftism, one of the Race Ventura cars, to sneak up into this battle. I don't think Fez is going to appreciate being held up too much, because obviously not too far away is that Pingu.
It seems like it's just down the grid. Skylar's lost it a little bit and lost 2 positions to Nick and Paula, who go side by side nearly through the chicane. Nick comes up the inside, he doesn't quite make it happen. Paula holds on to P11. Nope, excuse me, P10 for now. Just below there, Snooty is moving to get back up the grid. He moves to overtake Skylar Vixen. You can see it just in the background. He takes Skylar Vixen easily up the inside. Or he goes to take up the inside. Yep, there it goes again. He has a look. Skylar's gone a little bit wide, and Snooty makes the corner coming up the inside there, with Skylar not far ahead of him. Not far behind him, excuse me.
Sorry, the two Kvetch Motorsports of Skylar and Blade Wolf, they were very, very side by side. The two teammates are really, really close together, as you can see them going into the first corner.
And Wushell's getting involved. It's Blade Wolf that gets through, Wushell that gets through, and poor Skylar goes wide as KM's other driver, Kevin, get through as well. That's 4 positions she's lost in 1 corner. That is gut-wrenching for a driver.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Kvetch Motorsports again out in force, loving the different colorations, patterns, and all that. And these guys are absolutely on it. I could see why Kvetch Motorsports got these guys on, because they are very, very fast drivers indeed for this championship.
Coming back up the grid, Pingu again. Here he goes on a storm. He's moving to overtake Cafe. Looks at the outside. It doesn't quite happen. He's going to be patient through the chicane. He's up in P6 at the moment. Meanwhile, currently further up the grid. Not an option, sorry, has just gone off. Well, he's gone a little bit wide there and lost a couple of positions. Sorry, back up to the top of the grid. Fezfox is now a second off Paddy, with Pingu 0.04 of a second off Cafe down in P6. So Fezfox knows he's got a little bit of pressure. There's a slow driver on the start-finish straight. I'm not sure who that's going to be.
That would be Gox, who's had a bit of a moment themselves. So we're looking at it now. Pally is, I think I know what's going on here. I think Fez is taking his foot off the accelerator a little bit. He doesn't want to have too much dirty air from Pally. He's sort of waiting, playing the patient game. He's got 13 minutes and 40 seconds to do things. He can just maybe take his foot off the gas, wait for Pally, for example, to make a mistake there, which I did see. Pally did run wide in front of him.
He did go a little bit wide there, yeah. That's allowed Fezfox to close the gap just a little bit.
Yep.
Oh,
as
someone's off.
Yep, that's Gox, who's
That
decided
Gox.
to stay well out of our harm's way. Commendable. And so we go into this. We're going to stay with. I think I'm going to stay with this little battle in front, Fez and Pally for P1. Didn't think it would be. I'd have thought it would have. Fez would have got past, but Pally's doing exceptionally well to keep Fez at bay.
Yeah, he's doing.
Oh, he's had a moment.
Oh dear, he has had a moment. Speaking of moments, Pingu. We're just going to jump to Pingu quickly. He's also had a little bit of a moment trying to take over Cafe. He did close the gap quite closely there, but it's opened up again. So Pingu being probably a little bit impatient there, but he's got 12 minutes left to make something happen.
Yep, Cafe is going to try and make his Porsche as wide as the entire Nordschleifer, as I mentioned before, to try and keep this exceptionally fast young driver at bay.
I don't know how long that's going to last for. You can, as I said, you can hear the Jaws music as Pingu creeps up ever so closely to Cafe as they come through the final chicane. Look at those cars bounce around. Good gosh.
The fact that Pingu is keeping the Porsche, or what I say, all of these drivers are keeping the Porsches under wraps over the curbs is nothing short of incredible.
And here
he
we go.
might make a move here.
I think Cafe had a little bit of a bad exit to the corner there. It's allowed Pingu to get side by side with him. Pingu gets the determining line through turn 1, but we'll see if Cafe can make the switch back. He can't. Pingu's done it again. He makes another position up, and just slightly ahead of him he's got Grim and Leftism, who are beginning to battle now. So Pingu, another opportunity coming up with 11 minutes left of the race to go. Up ahead we've got Pally, who's again holding on to P1, and Fezfox not able to get any closer at the moment.
No, it doesn't look that way. As I'm looking at the both Race Ventura Pink, White and Blue, Leftisms and Grim Lily, I don't know. It's a case now for these two. Does Leftism stay in front, take the podium, or does Grim take the podium? If it stays like this, because Pingu might have something to say about that, but we'll never know.
Pingu's got something to say about it. Oh, is that Fez? That's Fezfox that just went wide. He's just cost himself a position to Leftism there. That was a terrible corner for Fez.
Yep, I just caught the end of that. Little bit too much on there. I thought, oh, Leftism's running all over the shop. He takes the position back.
The two RB cars giving Fez a bit of a flash there. Both of them are not very happy with what's just gone on there, but I think what we've seen happen there is simply what's known as racing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, as I was looking there, I looked at Leftism. Leftism got all sorts of out of shape, and that just allowed Fez to go, yep, I'm taking this back, thank you very much, P2 for me.
Needless to say, with all that happening though, Pally has now got a 3-second gap on Fezfox, and the only thing standing between him and these guys at the moment is a back marker, but needless to say, the back marker is moving at some speed. Pingu's got a 7-second gap to make up on the 4 drivers ahead. He can just about see them. Caffey's holding on quite well though, and just behind them is Cammers, who's about 8 seconds behind. Is there any other races going on?
Yeah, I'm just looking as well. I just looked down at the grid. Dipping Source, or Dip, is currently running P20. I think they had a big accident earlier. My screen is telling me that he's running his hazard lights on, so I think
yes, he definitely is.
Someone get on the radio to him. He seems to have forgotten how to switch them off. But yes, so he was running this hazard lights. I believe he had a moment. So it is what it is. Unfortunately, stuff happens, but it can't be helped. I'm just having a quick look as well.
Oh, Shops has lost it. It seems.
Oh,
Dip,
yes, he
Dip
has.
can make up some time on him and make up a P19. At least, but Shocks does get going. Just coming back down to the end of the grid, All Out Fox, he did pull into the pits, and I thought he'd honestly stopped driving, but nevertheless, he is back out. He was having, I think he was having technical issues with his steering. Oh dear.
Yeah, I think his race is done. I don't know if he's got something wrong with his wheel, or he's had to restart his controller or something like that. But yeah, he's definitely struggling out there. But it's not the end of the universe. I think he's just having a bit of fun now, really.
I'd say so as well. It's good that he's carrying on at least. Like, you know, he will. I think you get points for finishing. I'm not 100% sure. Let's have a look back up at the grid. What else is going on? We've got Nick, who's defending from Snooty. Snooty's in the final top 10 position. We have 7 minutes left of this race. Just up ahead of them as well, Cammers and Saber are beginning to go at it on the start-finish straight, coming down into turn 1.
Yep, there's still quite a bit of action all over the field right now. I'm just getting caught up with the pit lane. There we go. So Snooty is, as I said, in P10. You said he was in P10. I'm looking at him now. Newbie's doing... Oh, Snooty's had a bit of a moment. But has managed to recover. But yeah, Newbie's still carrying some damage. But I tell you what, a good driving from Nick to keep that Porsche under wraps and keep it in the top 10, which is quite an achievement.
Slightly further down the grid, we come to our absolutely 100% loved Blade Wolf in car number 142. He's currently under attack from Kevin at the moment. This is for P13. Got Kevin using the flashes there. I think that's kind of a bit of a tactical move to try and put Blade off, but we know Blade is not one to be. He's not one to be.
I think I know what the flashing's for. It seems Snowblade was another suspect of having both his indicators on. He's just turned them off now.
He has just turned them off now.
Yeah, I think that was probably a bit of a tactical mishap there. Well done to Blade for turning those off. So now it's a case of P13. You know what? He's doing all right. He's staying pretty much. Got his nose ahead and nose clean of Kevin, which is good to see. We shall see if this battle continues all the way to the end, I think.
I think it's gonna. I mean, just ahead of Blade is Paula, who's opening the gap to Blade and closing the gap to Wushel. Needless to say, Snooty is closing the gap to Nick again, so he's back on it. He's certainly got back up to speed, and he's closed the gap immensely to Nick. Another driver then who's gone from the back of the grid all the way up to top 10. Fantastic drive for him. Yep.
Snooty has always been a committed driver. He's quite experienced, even externally. He does race in real life conditions as well. So he's got that going for him too. So he is a good driver in general. So seeing him in the top 10 is not really a surprise, but it's fantastic on. Especially from being so far down the grid to begin with in race 2.
It certainly is. Let's have a further look down the grid. We've got Kevin again, who's... Oh no, sorry, Blade's got a good gap on Kevin. So maybe there was a little bit of a struggle out the corner.
Possibly so. Yep, possibly so. Still P13.
Not an option, just spun off as well. That's a Absolute shame, but it's allowed Skylar Vixen to gain a position. Behind Not an Option is Seffi, who sadly has moved all the way down to P18. She's in a race of her own at the moment. She's the last of the RB cars on the track out of Grim, Leftism and herself. And she's in a bit of clean air with Skylar up ahead, about Not an Option up ahead by about 7 seconds. And Dip, who's about 20 seconds behind. So she's very much on her own at the moment, but you know, she needs to keep going. She's got to finish.
Yep. I'm just looking up the grid all the way on P1 again. Fez has closed the gap to within a second now, so it's going to get close. Fez, who has actually also holds the fast lap of the race, 56.9, so a very quick, respectable time by his standards.
Very much so. Pingu's quickest time only being a 58.1 at the moment. Needless to say, Pingu has closed the gap immensely to Leftism. Only 3 seconds. Only 4 seconds, excuse me, separate these two, and Caffey's done very well indeed to hold on to Pingu.
Yep, he's sort of plugging away, Cafe. He's doing a very good job, sort of making it, reminding Pingu that, yeah, you're quick, but I'm a quick driver in my own right, and I could potentially catch you. I think Pingu is taking his foot off the gas. He may be settling for P5, but we never know with Pingu. He could be like, I'm going to settle this lap, and then I'm just going to go all out and take P3 all of a sudden. He's that kind of driver.
He is. Anything can happen. There's just less than 3 minutes left of the race. We come back up to the leader. Pally has still got Vezfox very much behind. He's done such a good job for this last half hour. Bit wide through the corner there. It's allowed Vezfox to close the gap. Vezfox goes to take the inside. Pally's not going to let that go lightly though. He sticks. He moves also to take the inside, but it doesn't quite happen as Fez has got the gap open now. So it's now down to Pally to chase Fez to take the position coming up to turn 1. That's not good news for Pingu. Pingu's got some work to do. Leftism up ahead has lost it. And Pingu now moves on to P4, past the first of 2 RV cars. He's got Grim now, 5 seconds behind. Caffey gets through past Leftism as well. And that's Pingu up to P4.
Yep, as one of the back markers gets out of the way of the race leaders, I've looked up now. Fez currently is opening a small gap over Pally. It's now down to Fez, as I believe we might have one more lap after this. We shall see.
It sounds about right, yeah. And someone else has lost it as well, it seems. That was Shocks. Unfortunately, Shocks lost it, so he'll be the last of the finishers. Fops, Gox and Jamie have all pulled into the pit, so I believe they've declared themselves out. Especially with so little time left in the race. But it is Vezfox that leads Pally now, and Pally is not letting that gap go lightly. Just behind them, Grim. Oh, hold on. Yep, Pally went a little bit wide there, so that allows Vezfox to open the gap even more. Just behind them, about 4 seconds off, you've got Grim. And then Pingu, who's got Caffey still 1 second behind him.
Yeah, again, Caffey has done extremely well to not let Pingu get away. I think it's a case where Caffey is, giving it the beans. Pingu, I think, has gave it the beans, and I think is just trying to sort of maintain P4. I think P5 was given, but P4 is a promotion in his book, so more points for him. It's now a case of, as we go over to the line, so here's going to be one more lap after this.
Yep, so there we go then. Vezfox leads us on to the final lap after fighting from the back of the grid. He now holds P1 and holds a solid 1 second gap on Pally. Wusho in the background, just further down the grid, has moved to take the final P10 position from Nick as they come through the final chicane onto the hairpin and start their final lap. Pingu is 4 seconds off Grim, and Grim is doing an extremely good job to keep that gap as is. It's looking at the times at the moment, Pingu absolutely cannot close that gap at the moment, so well done.
I think Pingu might have some issues, I think. I'm just looking at their deltas, looking at their times. They've only really sort of had 57s, not really giving, unless they've chose the wrong tyre set, which could be likely, you never know. They could be running scrub tyres, which could be affecting their performance as well. They could have potentially damage that we cannot see on our screens, but you never know. So it's a case of just easing it to the finish line. And yeah, so I'm just going to quickly jump back to P1 in Fez Fox. I think Fez has had a small issue. I think one of the corners they're a bit slow because it's allowed Pally to close the gap to within a second again.
Pally's definitely just switched it on there. He's closing that gap slowly and surely. He knows he's only got a couple of corners left to go before the start-finish straight. I don't think it's going to happen. That was a little bit of a bad chicane for Pally. So nevertheless then, here he is. He comes round after coming from the back of the grid all the way up to P1. It is Fez Fox that takes P1 in race 2. After having a bit of a bad race in race 1, he's come all the way through the grid to take home P2. Followed very closely by Pally and Grim. And Pingu comes across the line to take P4. Cafe comes in as P5. Leftism brings it home in P6. Saber rounds the corner on his own. It's P7. Cammers has done very well to hold Snooty off for the rest of the race. He comes through in P8, just giving Snooty P9. 100th of a second separated them, and the final top 10 position was Nick, followed very closely by Wushel. P12 is Paula after taking over Kevin in P13. Joker comes through in P14. Blade Wolf on his own again comes through in P15, and we go slightly to the back of the grid. It's Skylar in P16. Here she is coming across.
Yep.
Excuse me.
It's one of those occurrences where a random cough appears out of nowhere. P16 is Skylar. Vixen gets around the corner. Nice job by her. Not an option. P17 comes in to finish their race. Good job on their behalf. As we look at All Out Fox goes around the corner, finishes in P21. Dipping as well. Dip has had a bit of a moment. I think it's probably completely intentional, as they have their hazards on again to go into the line in P18. Brilliant work for him, I guess. It could have been better, but it is what it is. And he had 148 disqualified for driving the wrong way. That's hilarious. That was Paula. Okay.
What? No way has that just happened.
What a way to end the race.
Oh, what? What?
That,
what? Oh dear, oh dear. We'll have to see what happened there.
Yep, we will look into that at the end of that. So for now, we need to concentrate and continue to get the stream going forwards. Race 2 complete. That was... Oh, I need to catch my breath after that.
And there you can see, before we bring the stream to an end, everybody, and so overall, Fez Fox finishes in P1. Great race for him. For the AM class, it is Cammers that finishes in P1. Well done to him. And for the silver section, it is Pally, who's had an absolute valiant effort there to hold P1 on silver.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely. Pally was in the race lead pretty much, I'd say 80% of the race, 85% of the race before before Fez managed to get past and inevitably take the win. But well done to Pally, probably driver of the day for race 2 in my opinion.
Absolutely driver of the day for holding on for that long. You've definitely got to take that as a win, even if it did mean you were P2. What a fantastic finish for him.
Yep. Well done. Everyone in their own right did a fantastic job racing today, and yeah, on to Bathurst in a week's time.
That it will be it as well. So join us for the final round of the Porsche Cup next week at Bathurst. Thank you very much for watching tonight. It's good night from me.
Good night, and it's good night from me.
Thank you. Good night.